This is Southern Cross News with Joe Palmer.
Good evening everyone and welcome to Southern Cross News. It's been a night of carnage on our roads with 2 men dying from crashes in different parts of the state. A motorcyclist in his 20s was killed when he hit a barrier at Brighton, while a 65-year-old driver left the road at high speed in the state's northeast.
This mangled and crumpled Suzuki Swift sits totaled on Lilydale Road after an early morning crash. Police say the driver lost control while turning a corner more than 100 metres earlier, slamming into an embankment with such force it spun the car around, damaging both the front and rear of the hatchback.
It appears at this stage that the vehicle was travelling well in excess of the posted 100 km/h zone.
It happened just before 6 a.m. The driver was a 65-year-old man from nearby Lalla. Another motorist came across the scene and called paramedics who tried to save him.
They did work on him at the scene for a little while, but unfortunately he has passed away at the scene.
Crash investigators were on the scene for several hours. Police say the driver was wearing a seatbelt and alcohol was not a factor. He was the only occupant of the vehicle. Police say they've responded to a number of fatal crashes on this road caused by speeding. This latest incident is prompting another warning to slow down.
I would take the opportunity just to ask people to, slow down and take care on the roads, drive to the conditions, wear your seatbelt and don't drink and drive.
Earlier in the night, a 27-year-old Hobart man was killed when he crashed his motorcycle into the railing at the Brighton bypass on the Midland Highway. A nurse driving past stopped to render first aid until more help arrived.
And there was also a truck driver that protected the scene and protected any other people driving past, so we'd like to thank those people.
The state's road toll now sits at 29, the same as this time last year. Tom Johnson, Southern Cross News.
2 men are being treated for head injuries and another man is in custody after a fight involving a firearm at Primrose Sands early this morning. The small seaside town east of Hobart has been swarming with police today investigating the incident. A car was found in a quiet street with blood smeared on its bonnet, while on the other side of town they blocked off a road for forensic examinations where the alleged assault took place.
The seaside shack town of Primrose Sands subject to intense police interest after a night of disturbance. Detectives investigating a serious wounding incident. Police say 2 men were visiting friends at this house in the early hours of this morning when another man arrived.
The 46-year-old man assaulted the 2 victims with a firearm, it is alleged. Shots were fired, but thankfully none of the shots struck the victims.
Authorities closing off Midden Road as they conducted forensic examinations at the scene today, combing through the house and searching neighbouring properties. On the other side of town at Robinia Street, police found a car smeared with blood.
The victims, after they were assaulted, managed to get into a car and leave the scene, and they went to another place where they sought assistance and got emergency services help.
The people involved in last night's incident here at Primrose Sands are recovering from non-life-threatening injuries. Police say the parties involved are known to each other.
There is a 46-year-old male in custody and assisting us with our inquiries. The 2 victims will require surgery but are expected to make a full recovery, and there is no further risk or cause for alarm for any other member of the community.
As police continue their investigations, they haven't revealed what motivated the disturbance in this seaside town, but they're calling for anyone with information to come forward. It can be provided anonymously through Crime Stoppers. Michael Breen, Southern Cross News.
A man accused of attempting to smuggle up to $1 million of ice into Tasmania in his underwear has had his case adjourned. 31-year-old Terry Henry Simpson appeared in the Hobart Supreme Court today, charged with trafficking a controlled substance. He's pleaded guilty to allegations he tried to bring 1 kilogram of the drug into Hobart on a flight from Sydney in August. His case was adjourned until next month. Justice Michael Brett seeking more information over what Mr Simpson planned to do with the drugs when he arrived. New drug tests will be rolled out across the state next week as police continue their crackdown on dangerous driving. The new oral fluid tests mean drivers no longer need to provide a blood sample, making the process quicker and easier.
A new way to keep our roads safe. From Monday, police will start using these oral fluid tests to detect drug drivers.
The advantage of this new process is that Tasmania Police will not have to take blood samples from the actual drivers and have to go to the hospital and be tied up for some time in order to do that.
Police will still do a roadside test if someone is believed to be a drug driver. Currently, if that test comes back positive, officers can spend hours with the driver in hospital, waiting for a blood test to be taken for further analysis. But now, quicker and easier fluid tests will be done at the station by specially trained police.
We are out there and we're actively targeting, and this will now allow us to do more because the police officers aren't tied up at hospital for the period of time.
The test can detect a range of illegal drugs, cannabis and amphetamine, the most common in Tasmania.
In the last 10 years, drug driving has represented over 10% of fatal accidents and still remains a high issue for Tasmania Police and the targeting thereof.
Last year, more than 2,000 drivers were charged with having illegal drugs in their system. Michelle Wisby, Southern Cross News.
A controversial investigation into whether Tasmania's firearms laws should be altered has kicked off in Hobart. Sides both for and against change fronted the inquiry, which is looking into licences, infringements and compliance with the National Firearms Agreement. It comes after the state government backed away from proposed changes to gun laws earlier this year, following significant community backlash.
The greatest gun-related risk to the future safety of our children is likely to be that states and territories not fully implementing the Firearms Agreement or indeed watering it down.
Firearms technology, farming practices, etc. have changed in 20 years, and subsequently how some of that act now makes little sense.
The committee is due to report back in March next year. Authorities are investigating the deaths of 30 little penguins found at Warbs Bay Beach near Bicheno. The discovery of the bodies was reported by a member of the public early this morning. The carcasses have been taken to Mount Pleasant laboratories to determine the exact cause of the death. Anyone with information is urged to come forward. The best of Tassie's paddocks has been packaged up into a new guide for those hungry for a day trip. Everything from strawberries to cider has been listed in the seasonal produce booklet to lure visitors to farm gates.
37 growers that are part of it this year. Was a fantastic venture right across the state, from the north to the south, east, west, the whole bit.
Meanwhile, the Growers Association says the state's fruit fly control zone is still on track to be declared pest-free by January 9. Georgetown Mayor Bridget Archer has been picked by the Liberal Party to challenge Labor in the seat of Bass at the coming federal election. Ms Archer was unanimously endorsed after running for pre-selection unopposed.
The future of Tasmania is really important to me. I've spent the last 9 years in local government working hard to represent my community because I really believe that the future for Tasmania and the future for northern Tasmania is very bright.
The seat has been held by Ross Hart since 2016. The Liberal Party is yet to choose candidates for the seats of Lyons and Clark. Tasmania has officially been given the all-clear to host the 2019 Fly Fishing World Championships. Delegates from the sport's international body signed off on Tasmania as the host nation following a week of inspections. It means well over 100 anglers from 30 countries will descend on the state's Central Highlands for the event.
I think the whole fly fishing world is abuzz with all the interest in this event in particular, and with our international reps that have been out here on this occasion. They've been catching plenty of fish.
The championships will run from the 30th of November until the 7th of December next year. A team of Tasmanian cheerleaders has returned from its first ever national competition with an armful of trophies. It comes as the sport continues to grow, attracting more men and athletes from all walks of life.
These cheerleaders are carrying more than just each other. After their first ever trip to national championships, Launceston team star now have some silverware in their arms.
It's fantastic. So it's the first time a Tasmanian team has been represented in for nationals. We're really excited. We went in with no expectations at all. The kids have only competed in 2 competitions this year, and the teams on the mainland have been in 19 to 20 competitions this year.
This is what their effort looked like.
All stars! O-D-I-N!
The team walked away with winning places between 2nd and 5th across several categories. While encouraged, the coach says the sport is yet to take off in Tassie.
It's a mainland sport. No one down here kind of had that the training or the capacity to do it. I've come from WA, so I had that already, and so I've loved to bring it to Tassie.
But it's drawn people from all walks of life, including 22-year-old former Afghan refugee Habib Hadari.
The country I came from, I never had the opportunity to follow the thing that I wanted, like dancing, performing art, that kind of stuff. When I came here, it was like a new country, a new opportunity to do whatever I want.
Others are happy to buck the gender trend.
It's a lot of fun to challenge the stereotypes and like that only females are cheerleaders. So like if we're walking down the street in our uniform or we see someone and they're like, what are you doing? It's like going to cheer training. They're like, what do you mean cheer training? It's like cheerleading. They're like, whoa, you're a male cheerleader? It's like, yep, we've got to get those girls up in the air.
Sean McComish, Southern Cross News.
Manaro Magic has come to Tasmania with 200 models of the much-loved Aussie classic roaring to life at Windsor Park. The event is celebrating 50 years since the first Manaro rolled off the production line, and every car since has had its own story.
It's red hot and a long way from home. This 1969 HT Manaro not only crossed Bass Strait, but the Nullarbor as well. The Perth-based Peach looks a treat, but would you believe it, it used to be a chicken coop.
The owners had chicken wire around it and chickens were living in it. So we got it back to WA and my husband did it all up. And there's parts from every state around Australia on this car.
Tassie's represented under the bonnet. Some of these parts were sourced from the Apple Isle, but rebuilding this V8 beauty came at a cost.
I lost him, he went to the shed, I became a Manaro widow, so instead I just went and bought one of my own.
It's just one of the 200 cars here in Tasmania for the Manaro Nationals. This year's edition is particularly special as it's celebrating 50 years since the very first Manaro was launched. Each model is eye-catching in its own right, but this Barbados Green 71 HQ goes to another level. Queensland's Rod Boyle says he spent 2,000 hours polishing second-hand parts to bring the car to life. And he says it's worth every second when his pride and joy rides among the pack.
There are so many beautiful colours and they sit there together looking fantastic. And I love cruising along the road with 10 or 15 Manaros, and they are all special. They're all very special.
And a lot of them have come a week early and travelling around. So on Facebook they've been doing pictures from Queenstown and Port Arthur and like the whole state. So yeah, it's pretty huge.
And if you want your Manaro fix, they'll be out on Windsor Park tomorrow. Tom Johnson, Southern Cross News.
Aurora Energy says it's on track to roll out new pay-as-you-go technology by the beginning of next year. More than 70 people signed up to the trial of the new phone app, allowing them to monitor their energy use and costs.
Because the underlying technology of pay-as-you-go is aged and is nearing its end of its natural life. So it has to be replaced, and so this is just the next generation of pay-as-you-go.
The rollout is expected to take up to a year. Now let's take a look at the day's business and finance news with thanks to Tasplan, your local super fund. Australian shares are on track to record their worst December quarter since the global financial crisis, following another sell-off during November. The ASX 200 index has dropped by 91.2 points. A short time ago, the Australian dollar was trading at 73.14 US cents and 64.19 euro cents.
Tasmania has claimed a last-minute victory over South Australia in their Sheffield Shield clash at Blunston Arena. A draw was looking likely due to a rain delay, but the Tigers cleaned up the last of the Redbacks' order after play resumed a short time ago. With a day of play to get it done, Gabe Bell got straight down to business, dismissing Connor McInerney in the second over. Travis Head looked like he could prove problematic to the Tigers' attack, and until Jackson Bird sent him packing on the very next ball. Callum Ferguson refused to budge, however, providing the visitors with some glimmers of hope. New recruit Alex Pycroft couldn't contain himself after removing another of the Redbacks' danger men, and when Bell claimed his second scalp of the innings in Tom Cooper, the stage was set for a South Australian collapse. But Ferguson had other ideas, frustrating the home side's quicks as he belted his way past 50. In desperate need of a breakthrough, young quick Riley Meredith stepped up, removing Alex Carey and Joe Mennie in the same over to shift things back in the home side's favour. But when the rain finally set in, play was put on hold, along with Tasmania's hopes for victory. Following the success of the recent Australian Hockey League matches in Hobart, world-class hockey is set to return to the state, with the Tasmanian Hockey Centre set to host 2 Kookaburras and Hockeyroos matches for the new Pro League competition. The men will play Pakistan, with the women set to face China before both sides take on powerhouse Germany the following day. The action begins on February 9 next year. Hobart's River Derwent will host some of the world's best sailors over the next few days, with the Tasmanian crews hoping to secure national titles in their own backyard for the 20-foot sport boat Australian Championships. This all-female Tasmanian crew have been sailing together for 2 years on board SB20 Cook Your Own Dinner.
Thursday night being Twilight Race was our night off, and when we bought the boat we didn't like the name, and we had this discussion of what do we cook tonight, and then we just went, that's it. It's Cook Your Own Dinner night on Thursday nights.
They'll be hoping to serve up something special over the next few days, with the hopes of finishing the regatta as the top women's crew in the country.
Tough competition, yeah. SB20s, there is no niceties in that. It is out there, everybody doing going for the best they possibly can. So start line's always interesting.
Skippered by the current Australian champion Brett Cooper, the crew aboard local boat Elios started among the favourites today, but with 30 boats competing for national honours, they'll need to be ready for anything the River Derwent throws their way.
In this fleet we've got numerous world title holders, from Nick Rogers to Paul Burnell. We've got people that have been campaigning in Europe over the winter.
To Hobart City Hall, and it was an action-packed card overnight, with Australia's best young amateur boxers going toe-to-toe for the opening night of the Australian Championships. The Tasmanian contingent held its own, boasting several winners in the elimination rounds, with the overall champion set to be determined over the next 2 nights.
Good evening. Ooze for at least the 3rd time this week topped the temperature list. Today, 25 degrees. Hobart and Devonport 18, Launceston and Burnie 19. Friendly Beaches and Fingal recorded 22 degrees, St Helens 21, Flinders Island, Smithton and Strawn 19, King Island and Low Head 18 degrees. A little low cloud over the state today, bringing a few scattered showers. Mount Wellington scored 3 millimetres and Clifton Beach had a shower this afternoon as well. More cloud is approaching Tasmania with a cold front. Another to the south of Western Australia. Low cloud is still over the New South Wales coast. A trough brought the cloud to central and western regions. Tomorrow the cold front finds Tasmania, but not until later in the day. A low to the far southwest and a number of troughs persist over the mainland. Westerly winds at 10 to 20 knots, tending northwest to northeasterly at 15 to 25 knots and to 30 knots over western and lower eastern waters, swells to 3 metres. Strong wind warning, that's from Wineglass Bay to Tasman Island and also from Southeast Cape to Low Rocky Point. Mostly sunny for Hobart, 24 tomorrow, 22 the top for Maydena, a late shower, Oatlands okay and 22. Launceston partly cloudy and fine, 21 the top, 18 for Devonport, a late shower moving in, same for Lyowini, 2 overnight, 18 the high. 18 also for Burnie with a late shower, showers developing for the west, Strawn 21 and 19 for Manaro, and for St Helens tomorrow, sunny and 22, 23 for Swansea, 22 the high for Orford. And the UV very high across the state at 10. On Sunday, rain easing to showers and clearing the east coast in the evening. More showers on Monday, contracting to the west and south in the evening. Fine and partly cloudy on Tuesday with an early shower over the west and far south. Partly cloudy in Perth tomorrow. A windy day in Adelaide with a shower or two. A sunny day for Melbourne ahead of a late change. Fine and sunny conditions for the other centres. Little cloudy over Hobart, 14 degrees. Fine in Launceston, 17 at the moment. Devonport partly cloudy and 17 degrees. Big night tonight, Joe. The big fight's on. Anthony Mundine's already told us he's the greatest sportsman Australia has ever produced. It would be easy for him tonight. Do you have a tip?
I just hope he gets knocked out. I can't stand him. I know I shouldn't say that, should I? But he's so annoying. Anyway, that's my tip. All right, we'll see you a bit later with updates. Bye for now.